Welcome, my friends. Welcome to the Jake Shell Show. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now, today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. I'm not going to sit here and just game. As much as I would love to grind some games right now, I want to try something a little new. I wanted to take this opportunity, this stream, to just talk. There's a lot of things on my mind, a lot of things I want to talk about with you guys, but I didn't necessarily just want to make a bunch of videos about it. I don't know, that just didn't interest me. I was like, well, if I have all these things to talk about, why don't I just live stream it? So today, as the title suggests, we're going deep in on Legends of the Force. We're going to talk about everything. I noticed in my last stream, we're playing with new cards and I'm running a bunch of new decks and all this stuff, and it's like, well, I haven't really talked about the set or what kind of leaders that I'm actually interested in, or where I think leaders will fit in a new meta, or I haven't made a tier list, right? So I want to go deep in on Legends of the Force, talk about all the cards, all of the relevant cards, talk about all the leaders, all the cards I think will make an impact on the meta, and yeah, we'll make a tier list. We got all kinds of things on the agenda today, and let's just jump into it, right? What's up, Swifty? Appreciate you joining. I saw didn't quite have the results you wanted for the PQ, right? But you're a beast, and you'll bounce back for the San Francisco PQ, my friend. You're going to dominate that one. I understand how it feels, you feel like you deserve that, top 8, or at least making it past the Swiss threshold, but you just don't quite get the matchups, or maybe you're not playing as well as you would have liked. Is what it is. That's the only way to look at it, my friend. Alright, without further ado, let's just freaking jump into it. Let's start looking at some cards, okay? I really want to run through the leaders before I talk about ranking them. And then we'll run through a tier list. Okay? I've seen a few tier lists online, and I don't necessarily agree with a lot of them. And that's kind of the point of tier lists, right? You're probably not going to agree with me. But anyway. First boy. Wow. That's tiny. There we go. Magnify the image. Why do they're popping out in a weird resolution? I don't really like that. How's it number 1? We'll see. Kylo Ren's the first guy. You discard a card from your hand, right? If it's an upgrade, boom, you draw a card. So the idea is you're going to be cycling upgrades to kind of get through your deck. And as soon as this guy was revealed, I was extremely interested in him. He has a really nice flip on 7. He's a Sentinel, and you play any upgrades from your discard onto him. And I think he is the most interesting leader in this set. I think he is probably one of my favorite leaders of this set. I've had a ton of fun with him. But the problem that we're running into, and the problem with most of these leaders that we're going to talk about today when ranking them, is I want to think of them in terms of the new meta for set 5, in terms of where they're positioned for Worlds, because to me, that's all that really matters, right? That's the biggest tournament we've ever had. It's the biggest tournament of set 5. Like, Worlds is all that matters. What's the point of ranking these guys in a vacuum when really that's not how they're going to even be played? We're not talking pre-releases. We're not talking drafting. That's a whole nother topic. Right here, we're just talking about how will these guys fit in the meta, right? So when I talk about them being good or bad, it's in relation to that. And yeah, we'll run through these. He's one of my favorites. He deploys a little late. He has a really cool effect. I think he has the coolest effect of set 5. But we will hold off ranking him until we get to the tier list. Now, Mama Talzin, my girl. All right, I love Talzin as a character. I love the leader. She's been a lot of fun. She's relying on the Force. Okay, so a lot of these leaders, you're gonna need the Force. And how do you get the Force? Well, you have to run Force units and attack with Force units, right? Or you run one of the bases that doesn't care about that, but those are also situational in their own right. But the Force is going to be probably the most interesting mechanic of set 5, and it's going to be the biggest thing that shows whether or not a lot of these leaders are even good in the first place. We might find out, like, hey, the Force is really hard to keep. And a lot of these leaders might be useless, right? Or maybe there's some strategy that just completely counters the Force, right? But I will say Talzin has a really impressive, surprisingly impressive ability if you can get the Force consistently, which a lot of times you can if you're running a Force deck. So use the Force and you give unit with -1/-1. Now, I've seen a lot of people compare this, especially in the beginning, to something like Jin Urso, right? But Jin only minuses the power. Talzin specifically minuses power and health, and it's really the health that's important because you can kill shit with this, right? So when you flip her, she's a 3/7 on attack. She gets the same thing, -1. You guys know this. But we're just running through them. The biggest thing about Talzin is her ability to make your opponent's board smaller. You can really clear the board as if you were pinging, right? Similar to like Cad Bane or Quinlan. Really good at taking control of the board and keeping control of it. And a big thing, similar to Quinlan, is that she flips on 5 and she's a 3/7. And we know this is a really powerful stat line just as a unit, right? So she's going to be solid. I think we start off strong with Kylo and Mother Talzin, two of my favorite leaders of this set. And then we get into things like this. I'm not going to stay too long talking about this tier of leader. Use the Force, give a friendly unit Sentinel. You just give a unit Sentinel. Similar to like Chewbacca. You don't have to play the unit, I guess. So you can have a unit on the board and give it Sentinel. Now, I don't want to act like I know how Ahsoka is going to line up in the meta. But just seeing her, I'm not super impressed with this. She just gives stuff Sentinel, and she's a 5/6 flipping on 6. I'm not impressed. We'll see. And you have to have the Force to give something Sentinel, which I find, that's going to be a cost, right? It's going to be a cost. We don't necessarily know how steep, I guess, but it's a big deal needing the Force to use your ability, right? Kanan, on the other hand, doesn't need the Force, right? You just pay 1, give a creature, Spectre, a shield. The thing about Kanan is he is reliant on these keywords, right? You're going to need to build with not necessarily Force units, but you're going to need to build with creatures or specters. Now, if the keyword was Force or Jedi, I think that would be crazy, right? But creatures and specters are pretty, in terms of like good ones, are few and far between. But you don't necessarily have to build your whole deck around that. I think he's an interesting leader if you can get a creature or specter to stick when you flip him. He's a 5/8 with a shield, which is nasty. But a lot of times I found that you can, playing against this or playing as this, it sucks to get your creature or specter removed on your flip, and then you're like, well, shoot, I'm out of resources now. I'm just a 3/6 shielded. That's a feels bad. I don't know how consistent that'll be, but when I was playtesting him, he was really interesting, for sure. And he's also one of my favorite leaders, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. So I'm really interested to see where he ends up. So that's all of blue. Now we're getting into green. These resolutions are much better for some reason. Maybe it's the ones that have been around longer that have the better resolutions. So Morgan Elsbeth, her ability is an action. You tap her. You choose a friendly unit that attacked. That's important. The unit in play has to have attacked already. And then you play a unit from your hand that shares a keyword, and it costs 1 less. Now, when I first saw this, I was really excited, and I thought there might be something here. But the fact that the unit has to attack, and then you play something else, it's not as easy to pull off as it seems when just reading it. And then her flip is on attack. The next unit you play this phase costs 1 less if it shares a keyword with a friendly unit. So she has to attack, and that's a little more interesting. But she flips on 5 as a 3/6. Not super crazy stats. But who knows? I'm sure somebody will figure out some sort of combo with her. I don't think it'll be super consistent or relevant. But I don't know. I'm not messing with her that much. Snoky Boy. Now, he's an experience leader. You pay 1, give an experience token to the unit with the most power among villain units. So you're going to stack your deck with villains, obviously. And you're giving something an experience token. We've seen this before. Grand Moff Tarkin, specifically with Imperials. He doesn't have to be just Imperials, which makes him perhaps a little more interesting. He flips on 6 and is a 4/7. I'm curious about him. I typically don't like the experience token leaders because they feel a little clunky at times. But I'm sure, just like with Tarkin, somebody's going to make something that you're going to have to watch out for. And I think he's an interesting leader, and he could be a contender out of these, set 5 leaders. And I'm going through these kind of fast. I know you guys have already seen these and read them, but I just want to make sure that if you haven't, then this is like a one-stop shop for this whole conversation. You know what I mean? So we're running through it. Avar Kriss. Now, she taps and gives the Force. Just an action, give you the Force. This is an interesting leader to me because you don't really need to build around the Force bases, right? Where you attack with a Force unit, you get the Force. You don't have to build around that, right? You could just play Avar Kriss with whatever base you want and get the Force with her ability. Now, she works really well with the Force bases because she flips based on the number of resources you control plus the number of times you use the Force this phase. And it has to be 9 or more. So, really, you're not deploying this leader on 9. If you're deploying this leader on 9, you're probably not doing anything crazy. And just like Jay Freak said, if you don't build around a Force base, her flip is a yuck. Exactly. So it's an interesting option to activate the Force without a Force base, but you're probably going to want that to flip earlier than 9 or earlier than 8. She's very interesting. My problem, is who are you foregoing playing, right? You're probably playing some sort of grindy green hero archetype. who are you missing out on playing a Var, right? There's probably better people to do this type of archetype, and they might not even care about the Force. You know what I mean? Even without the Force base, I found it pretty difficult to flip earlier than 7. Yeah, I can see that totally. Um, Even with the Force base. Sorry, I think I misread that. But yeah, like it's still difficult to use the Force that many times to flip her earlier than 7. So you're probably looking about 7 consistently, and that might even be a stretch if your opponent's interacting with you really well, right? There's just ways to kind of counteract her. But an 8-10 with Overwhelm is very intriguing, right? So she's interesting. I know when she first was revealed, I know a lot of people were interested in building around her. And another one a lot of people I've noticed have been interested in building around is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, this guy is iconic right here, right? This is Clone Wars Obi-Wan Kenobi. Look at his face. This guy's not fucking around. He's wearing his clone armor. This is like people's favorite version of Obi-Wan, right? Action, use the Force, give an experience token to a unit without an experience token on it. That's pretty good, right? You could compare this to someone like Rey. I mean, using the Force is similar to spending, X amount of resources, right? With Rey, it's 1. But he can put this on anybody as long as they don't have an experience token on them already. I think he might have some legs. One thing that I think is kind of frustrating about him is that he can't give, like, when he flips, he can't give the Force to himself. I think if he could give the Force to himself, he would be cracked. And obviously that's probably why they didn't do that. And I'm just a crazy guy dreaming of a crazy, broken Obi-Wan Kenobi. But on attack, you give an experience token to another unit without an experience token on it. So you can't stack it. That's the thing. But you get to spread it out. So you're gonna typically play some sort of like strategy where you're playing solid units on curve, right? And you're just buffing them one each round. One thing to note is you're probably, if you're using an extra action every single round, you have to be careful of losing out on initiative too often. That could be a weakness, because if you lose initiative and your opponent can respond first action the next phase, they might prevent you from getting the Force back entirely, and it could snowball to be like a bad time for you. That's what I've kind of noticed with Obi-Wan, but I think he's good. I think he's one of the better leaders of this set for sure. Now, this was my favorite leader when set 5, first dropped, especially because Darth Maul was one of the first leaders to be revealed. He was like the first guy I started testing with. And man, there's something missing. Action, use the Force, deal the damage to a unit, deal damage to another unit. So important thing here is you could damage your own units. You might have to damage your own units, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I was trying to run him in like a red-green style, and I was doing things with like Admiral Modi and trying to kill off my Admiral Modi to untap my like Savage. I really wanted something to work with Darth Maul and Savage Opress, the new Savage, the 9/6 Overwhelm. But just something is missing. And maybe somebody will crack the code and make a really powerful Darth Maul deck, but he comes out kind of weak. He's comes out at 6 as a 5/6, and coming out that late with 6 health, you're not going to stick around very long, I don't think, unless you like upgrade this guy. But yeah, the other side is basically the same ability: deal a damage. He's a 5/6. Again, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. One of everybody's favorite characters, I'm sure. he was my favorite leader at the start. I wanted to make something with him, but there might be something missing. And the red-green combination might be better off with Third Sister. I think Third Sister's really interesting. I've seen some really aggressive gameplay with her. She comes out at 5 as a 5/4. She gets stuff hidden. Hidden, who knows how that's going to play out. I've noticed that hidden is actually really strong, but it's not strong to like build your entire deck around, right? I think it's incidentally strong just by having units like Aura Singh, we'll talk about later, and Grand Inquisitor, we'll also talk about later. Them having hidden is really crazy, and they're really good units for having it. But I don't think giving everything hidden is that crazy, right? My buddy Andrew Naku in the chat was talking about running Third Sister in like a green red deck and building it around giving like Admiral Piet hidden so that he doesn't just die immediately, and then next turn you can set up like a big ambush. So that's interesting, and I love where his head's at. But we'll see. I think she's probably going to be best in like an aggro strategy, especially like red yellow. I've seen seems pretty good. Like an aggro deck that is hard to interact with units, you know. That might be really interesting. But yeah, I'm not necessarily inspired by her, but somebody else might be and make something super good. So we'll see. She's one of those kind of like, yeah, I mean, maybe there will be a deck or two like that, like really good, right? Let's see. Okay, we're almost done, guys. Now, Kit Fisto is interesting. Kit Fisto's interesting. I see everybody's reaction is like, oh my god, Kit Fisto is absolute trash, right? And people are just shitting on him because of how terrible he is. And I think it's because of his flip. I think everybody's kind of has a consensus that his leader side is actually really good if you can utilize it properly, right? If you attacked with a Jedi, you deal 2 damage to your unit if you pay 1 and tap this guy. Exhaust this leader. So paying 1 as a 2 damage ping on its own is really crazy. But you have to attack with a Jedi. So if you build your deck around Jedi, you're probably going to be doing something with the Force, incidentally. But people seem to be shitting on his leader side, right? So when this unit attacks, it has Saboteur, and it gets +1 power for each other friendly Jedi unit. It's a 1/6, and it gets +1 power. So realistically, you're probably only going to have like 2 units out on his flip if you're, you know, perfectly curving out and none of your shit's dying. Maybe one of your things dies. So 3/6 with Saboteur is not like incredibly horrible, especially if you give him like a General's Blade or some sort of lightsaber, which there are plenty of now. There might be something here. I have lost to a couple Kit Fistos, and it seemed really, really good in those specific scenarios. But like, if you're just doing a good job as like a mid-range deck of keeping the board clear and interacting with their units, I don't see flipping Kit Fisto being good. Like, you don't want to flip him alone. He's not gonna help you come back into the game. He just kind of pushes that extra damage. He pushes the aggro game plan. So maybe there's an aggro deck here, but we'll see. I don't know. I am very interested to see where he goes, to be honest. Next we have Rey. Action. If you played a non-unit force card this phase, deal 1 damage to a unit. So, how many force cards are there? let's just do a force trait. What does it say? Non-unit? Non-unit force card. So, is not unit, is force. Okay, those don't count. A lot of leaders. So I have to say is not leader. Okay. I have to say is not leader and is not force. Or sorry, is not unit and is not leader. No. Type not leader. These are leaders. What? What is happening here? Is not leader, is not unit. Bro. Okay. I'm over it. I'm over it. The point is, there's probably not that many cards. There's a lot of good force cards. In that category, non-unit category. I mean, force throw is like the first one I can think of. So if you use force throw, you can deal an extra damage that turn. Now, I have a hard time with this one because you have leaders like Quinlan and Cad who just get free pings just by playing units like all game. It's much easier to get a ping off with Quinlan and Cad than it is to get a ping off with Ray. So like that's immediately the thing that you compare it to, right? Especially if you're not considering this in a vacuum. And then her deploy, she's a 7/6/8, which, you know, good stats. But when deployed, you may discard your hand if you do draw 2 cards. That does not seem good, right? So it seems like the idea is to be like burning your cards all game, and then at 7 resources, you draw 2 if you. I don't really see why this ability goes with her as a leader. I don't know. It seems off, right? Strange. Barris, another one of my leaders that I'm most interested in. She uses the force, and you can play an event, cost 1 less. The first thing I started testing was making, now there are 2 of them cost less, and making sneak attack cost less, and I was just seeing how much that impacted things. And with this build, I was doing like Barris Green, and I was thinking like, okay, I can get like Vader, Maul, the Sun. I can get those guys out with, now there are 2 of them a turn early, going the force route with force units. But it just, I think one of the most important things about your leader is that the ability has to be super easy to trigger, and it has to be triggering often, or it has to be helping in a big way, right? Like I talked about earlier, Cad pings, Quinlan pings, they're free, they're easy to trigger, they happen all the time. And I think that's kind of the starting point of creating a powerful leader. And I think this is a little situational. It's hard to line this up because you have to play units to get the force most of the time, right? If we're talking the force bases, and then you're discounting your events by 1, but then you're not pushing more units to get the force. So you might be in a weird spot where you can't get the force and you get stuck, and then her ability stops being useful. I don't know. And her flip isn't anything to write home about. 6/4/7. But this time her ability is just an action rather than, you know, you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be an on attack or anything like that. Very sweet art. I love the art. I think she's a cool leader, cool concept, but we'll have to wait and see. Maybe somebody makes like, I don't know, maybe my brain's not like control enough, and maybe there's something here with like a yellow blue hard control deck or something. And I'm not seeing it, but Well, we'll see. Grand Inquisitor, like, what's going on, guys? What the hell? My boy, Grand Inquisitor. Not only did they pick the terrible Grand Inquisitor, the round head looking ass Grand Inquisitor, the regular head looking ass Grand Inquisitor as their art, but they printed him in one of my favorite color combinations, yellow villainy. But like, what? What? Why would you use the Force just to give something -2 power? See, this is a little different because it's more like Jin than Talzin's ability was. You're not actually going to kill something with his ability or ping something with his ability. You're simply making your unit possibly survive an attack, right? They did my boy dirty. They really did, I feel like. So he's a 3/5 shielded, and on attack, he does the same thing for himself. But you're a 3/5 shielded on 5. I have a hard time seeing this being good. I don't think this can work. I don't know. It just seems it's so underwhelming. So underwhelming. Poor guy. Poor Grand Inquisitor. Another one that it's not as underwhelming as Grand Inquisitor. I think this might be decent, and I see a lot of people testing this in like super aggressive hero builds. Because he flips on 4. He's a 3/4, unfortunately, but his action's interesting. Use the Force. An opponent chooses a ready unit they control, exhaust that unit. So the idea is you're consistently up tempo on your opponent if you can line this up properly. But another thing with using an action to tap stuff down is you're probably going to lose initiative. And then what? Then your opponent attacks with their unit and you don't have an ability, right? So the reason it was so good with Django, I saw a lot of people comparing it. I saw people comparing this to Django. And I know when I say people, it's just like randos online. But like Django didn't have to use an action to tap stuff down. It was just after some incidental damage, you tap stuff down, which is insane because you're up tempo always. But this, you begin to lose tempo as you use this. So it's something that tries to give you the tempo, but you end up slowly losing it as you continue to use this action, right? I don't know. We'll see. 3/4s are bad. This is not like they have Sabine, who's a 2/5 that essentially attacks for 3. Like it's effectively a 3/5 because you're not going to be hitting units with it really. A 3/4, this just dies so easy. Like just paper toughness, right? I don't know. Qui-Gon is another interesting one. The trick is that you don't use his action ability until after he's dead as a unit. Wait. So you bring him out as a unit, then he dies, and then you get to use his action again. I'm not following that. Right, okay, I see. So you load up the board, then you flip, and hopefully you have more units, and then you start using it after you have more units. Yes, okay, I see. Once big stuff starts coming down and maybe you have the board clear and they only have like a couple big units or one big unit, that makes sense. Could be. I don't know. I think Qui-Gon is a little bit more interesting. Use the force, return a friendly non-unit. You bounce something, you play something that costs less. It has to be a non-villain unit. I struggle with Qui-Gon because you can't really build a board until late in the game if you're using his ability consistently. But I have seen people utilize this with like some units that we're going to talk about later, like Keller and Beck, where you could just be utilizing this and just filling your board with stuff. Home 1 is another good one. You play it, get the when played, bounce home 1, play like a Keller and Beck or something, get another unit, then you start building the board. Sneak attack is another really interesting thing to utilize here because you can play something earlier and then utilize more resources or utilize on curve resources after bouncing that sneak attacked guy. That's interesting. And okay, yeah, Jay Freak agrees. Sneak attack's great. Let's see. I think he's interesting. I think he flipping on 6 is usually unfortunate as a 4/7. I don't know. How hard is it going to be to stop our opponents from getting the force? One thing that's pissing me off about Qui-Gon right now, I don't know if it's implemented incorrectly on Petranaki, but I noticed it was implemented incorrectly on Karabast. This fool, he was playing Qui-Gon Blue, and he had the 5-cost ship you're talking about. Oh no, not that ship. He had Qui-Gon's Aether Sprite out, which I'm just gonna pull up the cards. He had Qui-Jin. That'd be a great brand. Qui-Gon's Aether Sprite, which next time you play a when played ability, it doubles it essentially, right? It doubles a when played. So this guy was playing blue. He had a villain in his discard, so he was double triggering Anakin. But in Karabast, it quadruple triggered. It doubled both when playeds. But when you double a when played, the next when played ability would be the first when played on Anakin. And Anakin has 2 when played abilities. Right? So the first when played, it checks for force. The second when played, it checks for villain. Doesn't matter the order, because you can pick it. But it doubles one of the when playeds, triggering 3 times, getting -9, -9. And that was an important pivotal moment because he was able to kill multiple things that he shouldn't have. And I was like, dude, I don't think it works like that. I think it's only supposed to trigger 3 times. And this guy acted like I was the dumbest person on the planet trying to tell me that he's like, dude, I have a villain, I have this, blah blah blah, doubles both. It's 1 when played. I'm like, dude, it clearly shows 2 when played. And it was like talking to a wall because he didn't understand what I was arguing. And it was a frustrating internet experience on Karabast, which happens, right? Especially when debating rules and there's no judge. It's like, when I'm playing on Karabast or something, I just want to be like, judge, this guy's an idiot. So I immediately like text my judge friend. I'm like, does this work this way? Blah, blah, blah. And then usually he responds in my favor because I feel like I know the rules pretty well. That was a hair flip, by the way. When I had long hair, you'd be able to see the actual flip. It was way cooler, but anywho, that time has passed us, and we're ready to talk about Darth Revan. Darth Revan, similar to Darth Maul, actually, before Darth Maul, Darth Revan was my favorite leader, and the leader I was most interested in trying. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to close my door. Hi. Hi. Nice. Okay, I'm back. Darth Revan. I was so excited. Um, but it turns out losing a whole aspect, losing the option of an aspect, is really, really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. I wanted to play this guy in yellow green villainy so bad because as you guys know, that's like my OG love in this game is yellow green villainy. I was getting some like, you know, Boba ECL vibes. I mean, obviously the ability works differently, but you know, you can run ambush and do some cool stuff, and your ambush unit gets the experience token, and you just load up on a bunch of experience tokens. It turns out, yeah, losing a whole aspect sucks, and they did not make this guy good enough, right? So the ability is good. When a friendly unit attacks and defeats a unit, you may exhaust this leader, give it an experience token. That's solid. That's really, really good. His flip, however, is very underwhelming, especially with the fact that he loses an entire aspect. This guy loses a whole aspect just to flip on 5 and be a 3/6 with restore 1. Come on, like, if they just made his leader side, like, significantly better, made it to where, like, flipping him is actually scary, flipping him and playing Darth Malak is actually scary, I think he'd be something to mess with. I don't know. Maybe somebody will find something to do with him, but I don't see it. It really sucks losing an aspect. I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed, or a lot of people are going to try him for sure because he's such an iconic Legends character. And another thing I realized too that I didn't really look too deeply in before, but I thought I'd maybe share if you guys didn't notice, but this bar at the bottom, that's all the Legends characters. This gold bar here. All the Legends characters have that. I think that's really interesting. I wonder why they decided to denote specifically Legends characters. Kind of cool. Disney's like, if you're gonna make these characters in your game, you have to show that they're not part of canon, right? I don't know. Anakin Skywalker does not have the Legends bar. He is, in fact, part of canon. But like Darth Revan, he suffers losing a whole aspect. Now, unlike Darth Revan, Anakin's a little more interesting because he can make up for losing that aspect by being able to play any villain cards regardless of aspect penalties, right? So you can play Barrage, you can play Power of the Dark Side, you can play, you know, all of your Force Lightning, all of the good villain, specifically non-unit villain cards. So that kind of helps with being only one aspect, but again, just like Revan, flips on 5 and he's a 4/6. A little underwhelming losing an entire aspect, you know? Maybe if he flipped and was a 4/7. Maybe if Revan was a 4/7, right? If they had some Boba stats, right? They'd still be worse than Boba, wouldn't they? But I think that would incentivize actually playing them. I think both of the non-aspect leaders are well built. If they had an aspect, they would be too good. They will only get better with more cards too. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I think they will get better with more cards. I think giving them an aspect might not be the actual solution, but I think making them a stronger leader unit would have been would have helped them a little bit. I don't know. I'm not designing the game, so I can't tell you, but as of set 5, I don't think they're gonna rank very high on my tier list. Get into it. I pulled up this oh boy, my maybe I can Move the bottom. Nope, can't move the bottom. Um, my camera's in the way of my beautiful list here. There we go. Okay. Now you can actually read it. So, I want to rank these leaders not within themselves, not within a vacuum of set 5, but I want to personally rank them into how well they'll contend with the meta. So, up at the top are meta contenders, right? These are going to be the guys that I think there will be some sort of meta deck or some sort of potential for a meta deck. Then we have the we shall see tier, which is kind of like, I think this leader is good, but who knows where the meta is going to go once the set comes out. Who knows what problems they'll face. Maybe there will be something that's simply better in their slot. Maybe they might not be able to take off the king of their archetype quite yet. But yeah, I think these are the leaders I'm interested in, but like I can't know for sure if they're going to be like a meta deck, right? Well, really, I can't be for sure if any of these are a meta deck, but we shall see, right? The middle ground is fine. They're fine leaders. I don't think they'll do anything in the meta. These guys are just bad, not it. And then the bottom is just why? Why did they think this was going to be a good leader? You know? So right off the bat, we're starting with Talzin. And right off the bat, for reasons I described a little bit earlier talking about Talzin, I think the -1/-1 she gives is really powerful. It can be an effective ping-like ability, but it also depowers units too. So it's like possibly even a little better than a ping if you can manage to kill them in that phase. She's going to be powerful at controlling the board and just very much like Cad Bane or Quinlan, where you're playing strong units and you're pinging, essentially. You're minusing your opponent's units and just taking them out, right? She's going to be a very good board control leader, very good mid-range leader, I believe. I think she pairs nicely with green or red. In red, you get like Force Throw and Pillage, and you get that discard hate. And Force Lightning is going to be really good in Force. The problem I think she faces... Sorry, before I get into problems, I think as a 3/7 flipping on 5, she's very strong. Just in of itself, like that's powerful. That's really good stats for the game. So just for those things, I think she's going to be a meta contender. I think there will be a deck that people run that could break into the meta. And I think she still has problems. I think one of the biggest problems is that you're not going to run space units. If you're trying to get the force all the time, you're going to be running mostly ground units. Force units are all ground units, at least, unfortunate, but that's the reality of it. If you're playing a force deck, you're going to be running mostly ground units. Like your whole deck is going to be filled with them. So I think there's going to have to be some way that she can contend against really aggressive space decks. I think Vader 4 and even like Kazuda, these really aggressive space dominant decks are very hard to deal with. And you're going to have to find a way to deal with them. Otherwise, it's like, I'm just going to get mopped by space decks. And I think that's not only Talzin, I think all the force decks have a problem with space because they're not splitting between the arenas, right? But I think she's good. I like her. Meta contender. Kylo Ren. Probably my favorite leader to play in this set. I've enjoyed him a lot. I've been playing Kylo ECL to pair him with the powerful blue ECL targets we have now with the new Darth Vader and Anakin. I think he's the best Anakin enabler because, well, hold on. I think he's one of the best Anakin enablers because you can run like Jedi lightsaber and just discard it and potentially use it later, but really you want that hero card in your discard so you can activate Anakin, right? I think he's a great Anakin enabler. I think Anakin ECL is crazy. And Darth Vader getting ECL'd is crazy. But I don't know if ECL is really the move. I like the blue-green combination with him. I do. I think there's something to possibly... I know people are doing red for like the one-turn kill type thing. I don't care about the one-turn kill Kylo because there's too many ways to like stop that, I feel like. I like him more as just a way to consistently get through your deck by filtering and maybe making him more like a mid-range soft control style, just filtering your deck. So ECL, Data Vault are interesting. Data Vault's really interesting because of the filtering. But I don't know where blue, yellow control, I think he could be good in because you get snapshot reflexes and shadowed intentions. You can just flip him and end the game. Like, control the whole game, be that, you know, grindy blue-yellow villain. And then end the game with just a fat unit. I think that's one of his biggest draws is flipping and just being a beast to deal with. However, flipping on 7 is really late. And you start to realize why people love Kira, because Kira can flip in the middle of the game and clear a board, flipping with Barrage. And Kylo, similar to Talzin, struggles with space, I find. Kylo a little better because you can run like the ships still. You can run ships, but blue-green doesn't have very many good... space arena, right? It's tough. You can run Barrage, similar to Kira, but you don't really have a good target, right? Kira is a really, really good Barrage target. And I don't know if he can be better than Kira. Because to me, that's really the comparison, right? Do you run something like Kylo Green or Kylo ECL or Data Vault or Kylo Yellow, or do you run Kira ECL, Kira Data Vault, right? So I think he's in the we shall see. Maybe he perfectly fits into a slot in the meta that Kira doesn't fulfill. I think Kylo absolutely runs over most mid-range decks, especially the hero decks, because nobody can deal with the Kylo flip. If you're just, you know, going pound for pound the whole game, and then you freaking flip Kylo with a craving power and like a couple legal authorities or something and just wipe their board out, they cannot deal with him. That's my favorite thing to do is run craving power and legal authority and just basically clear the board. I don't think he's guaranteed to be a meta contender like Talzin is. I think Talzin is simply more consistent. I think Kylo, there's a little bit more moving pieces to run him effectively. And so he's kind of in the we shall see. Okay. Then we have Ahsoka Tano. She's a 5/6, give stuff Sentinel. I don't think she's going to be possibly good. I don't think she's going to be a meta contender. I just think she's kind of not it. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody pulls out a great Ahsoka Tano deck. I have lost to Ahsoka Tano before. I'm willing to admit it, but how consistently will you lose to it? Probably not very consistently. There's always those rogue decks that can pull out wins, but I don't think she's there. Kanan, we talked about him being one of my favorite leaders in the set. I think giving stuff shields is really powerful. We've seen that with Luke. Luke can give any hero shields. Kanan can specifically only give creature or specters shields. So it's like, does he replace Luke as the like grindy blue hero, or does he kind of not get there the same way that Luke can? I think he's going to get better with Spectre as better Spectre units come out and as better creatures come out. But as of right now, he's not something I'm really looking to build. He's not something I'm really worried about per se. I think there are just leaders that you'd rather play. I don't think he's really replacing something like Luke or Rey in that grindy blue hero slot. So with that, I think he's fine. I think you can really load up a board and shield them all, but when you're actually playing against decks that interact with your units and can just kill your units pound for pound, blow for blow, you're not going to want to flip Kanan by himself. And if your Spectre creature dies that you played to flip Kanan and make him more powerful, it's not looking good for you. And I think that's something you'd run into a lot. Another note, really quick, before we move on from the blue leaders, I think it's really important to judge these guys based on not the online meta currently, but what the meta will be. So I'm thinking, what are the set 4 decks? What are the best set 4 decks? How good are they against some of the new set 5 stuff? I feel like when we're playing online, we might think to ourselves that something is really, really powerful because we're playing a bunch of new decks. Like, we're playing a bunch of Kanans, we're playing a bunch of Kylos, we're playing some Ahsokas and Avars, and we're playing all these new leaders. We're not really playing a whole lot of Vader 4s, right? Not a lot of people are testing Sabine in set 5, right? A lot of the online decks are going to be new stuff. And so if you're doing really well with a leader, or a leader seems really good, consider what's already good. I think that's the biggest part about this. What makes this tier list a little different than other tier lists you've seen already is that a lot of people I've seen are kind of judging these leaders in a vacuum. I'm judging these leaders on how well they can fight the meta, how well they'll contend in the meta from set 5, right? Because we have 4 other sets to play with, right? Like, the decks that are good right now in set 4 are going to stay good. You know what I mean? Vader 4 is going to still be a menace. What decks can stop Vader 4? What decks can stop Sabine, right? And another thing about Kanan before we move on, it's unfortunate that the keyword specific, or like not keyword, I keep saying keywords, but I mean trait specific. It sucks that he's trait specific because there are a lot of great Force units or Jedi that would pair so well with him. And for that reason, I think Luke might just be the better option to build around. If you're going to run that shield type of grindy archetype. Okay. Next up. Morgan Elsbeth. She's a 3/6, comes out on 5, green villainy. She makes stuff cost less. I don't think she's going to be as good as Kanan. I think she's fine. I don't think she's fine. I think she's worse than fine. She's not it. See, she's in that category. I didn't put her in the fine category. I wanted her to be really good. I thought it was an interesting mechanic. But there's just too much you have to do to make that work. Right? So I don't think it's going to be relevant. Supreme Leader Snoke, I think he's very much in the vein of Tarkin. I think he'll be similar power level to Tarkin. He might be able to do more broken things though, because he gives the the experience token to just the thing with the highest power. It's not necessarily like it's not necessarily like it has to be an Imperial, right? I think he is going to be a very interesting we shall see. Honestly, I don't know if he breaks into the meta. But his ability might be relevant enough to push him into the meta, or maybe be like one good deck that runs him. Do I think he might be good? Maybe he's fine. I tried running him a little bit. I wasn't super impressed. I'm probably not going to build around him. I feel like these We Shall See decks are going to be stuff that I can see people like it's worth it to build around. He might not be. The fine category is kind of like maybe somebody will do something with it, but I don't think it's going to break into the meta the same way that these guys will if somebody builds it well, right? I think Kylo has a better chance of breaking into the meta and doing something than these guys do. We're doing this off the cuff, right? I have to think about it a little bit. You guys are with me on this journey. Avar. I think Avar's also fine. I don't think she's crazy. I think she's a little too underwhelming to replace anybody in the meta. I don't think there's going to be any crazy thing that you can do to put her in the We Shall See section. I think her strategy is too narrow. Because ultimately, if you can find a way to just prevent them from like using the Force, like they have to have their units on the board to use the Force multiple times, right? So you can really screw with her leader deploy. Your opponent can stop you from deploying before 9. And that sucks. That really sucks. I don't know. I don't see a consistent way to deploy her before 9. Like, so consistent that you're going to get it every time. If she just straight up deployed on 7, I think she would be a lot better. But I don't see her being better than, like, Yoda. Or, what's another good grindy hero that flips and does something immediately? I'm drawing a blank. But, for example, Yoda flips and could possibly kill something. He flips on 7. And granted, he's a 4/9, but he has Restore, and he just kills something. This Avar Kriss doesn't do anything when she flips, right? She's just a big unit. So, I don't know. It's fine. Obi-Wan. I think I'm gonna have to go through this a little quicker. We're already at an hour, and I want to get through some stuff. But Obi-Wan is another We Shall See. I think it depends on how consistent the Force is. Right? I think he's really, really good when your opponent's not fucking with your board, right? If you're just straight up blasting stuff onto the board, like, he's really difficult to stop. But, like, if you're consistently killing his units, or you're consistently able to prevent him from getting the Force, it's just GG, you know? You think he's up there with Talzin, at least in blue-green? I think I haven't seen enough of him. And I haven't played enough of him. So I have to put him here. I don't know. Like, if I was playing Kylo ECL, I would just run over Obi-Wan blue. I know that for a fact. But, again, I'm not talking just about matchups, but I'm talking how sure I am they'll be in the meta. Kels agrees that he's up with Talzin. Okay. Vengeance Temple with Jedi Consular is bonkers. Now, my thing is, I've played against that. What if you're playing Quinlan or Cad? Right? Because, and again, we're not talking just about matchups. But this what if you're able to deal damage right off rip, you know? If you control a unit with 4 or more remaining HP. So if you just deal the damage, then they don't get the force. Blue-green villain is its natural worst matchup. Yeah. Or Cad. I feel like just pinging it. Can it stop Vader 4? Right? I'm sure it's good against something like Sabine, some sort of ground aggro. I'm sure it's decent, right? You just make bigger units. But can it stop space? Right? There's so many unknowns to me. I think it's good online right now. I think it's really, if you played this online, you will be successful. But I don't think online right now on Petronaki or Karabas, I don't think that reflects the meta very well. I think there's a lot of things that might give this strategy trouble. And if you can't get the force, you just don't have your ability. And this isn't a reliable way to get the force. I don't know. I really like him. He feels good. I think he's fun. But just like Kylo, I think it's one of those things where we'll have to wait to see how the meta shakes out. Is Obi-Wan better than Rey? Is Obi-Wan better than Han 2? Right? Is it better to play a unit and then buff it? Or is it better to just play a unit one turn earlier with a little bit of damage on it? High ceiling, low floor kind of deck. That's a great way to explain it. I think the ceiling is high for sure if you can get your stuff off. Especially buffing like Chirrut. Oh my god, that's miserable. Having Chirrut with as a 4/6 is horrible to get through. But space doesn't give a shit, right? And I think if your ability is turned off, it just is really difficult to make anything happen. The floor might be too low for him, is all I'm saying. I don't know. We shall see. I think he's good. I think he's a great leader. But we shall see. Is being a 3/6 flipping on 5 good enough? I don't know. Darth Maul. Moving on. Darth Maul. I think Darth Maul. I think I want Darth Maul to be good. I don't think flipping on 6 is good for him. I think he needs more health to utilize his ability more consistently. I think his ability is really, really good. But is it worth using the Force? There might just be better leaders to play than him, right? My heart wants to put him in Fine or We Shall See. But I'm having a problem getting him out of this category. I don't think he's going to be worth it. When I first saw him, I was like, pinging is so good. Pinging multiple enemies is so good. But then his flip just... I don't know. I don't think it's enough. I think paired with his lightsaber, he's really, really strong. He attacks right away. He becomes a 9/8 or something like that, right? With Overwhelm. But I don't think he's necessarily as much in contention as these three leaders up here above him. So this, yeah, I'm being very conservative with this list. I feel like I don't want to be too hype about stuff. I want to call stuff a little bit worse than maybe they will be, right? I don't want to be too hype on stuff because ultimately the decks that are around right now are going to still be really, really, really good. That lightsaber would be better with the red unit. That's all I see though. Yeah, I think it might be better with the his legendary unit. But yeah, I don't know. If his lightsaber said Maul and not specifically Darth Maul, that'd be kind of cool. Run it with the green rare unit from Shadows. Anyway, third sister. I think she's fine. I think she's gonna do more than these guys down here. I think there's gonna be some crazy aggressive deck. Yeah, it doesn't work with that one. Unfortunate. I think there will be some sort of crazy aggro deck with Third Sister that maybe I'm not able to see, but I know there's gonna be something that somebody does that you're gonna have to watch out for. I know people don't like that she has 4 health, and obviously 4 health leaders generally aren't where you want to be. It's really easy to kill them, but she has hidden, and she gives stuff hidden. There could be something interesting there. I think she might be fine. I think the decks that I'm thinking of running with Darth Maul, I think would be better with Third Sister. And I don't even think Third Sister is the right option. I think Bosk might be better with the decks that I'm thinking of. So I think she's fine. I don't know. I don't think she's gonna break into the meta necessarily, but maybe she could. I'm struggling with Kit Fisto. I'm struggling with Kit Fisto. Because dealing 2 damage is really, 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 really good. And I think when he works well. But I think he's too easy to stop. I think there could be a really good aggro deck with him. But at that point, why wouldn't you just run like Sabine? So I think he's not it. I think Sabine is probably just better. In every regard, more consistent. I know he cares about having Jedi, but like Sabine can just run those Jedi and be a better lightsaber target. Because that's all I see. I see Kit Fisto as a flip lightsaber off to the races kind of deck, right? And his leader side is kind of clearing the board to pave a path for you to flip and saber him up. But I think Sabine is probably just better straight up. So I don't think he's gonna do anything. Rey, I'm also struggling with Rey. She pings, but her ping is worse than Cad Bane and Quinlan. I'm struggling to see why they made this. I guess you could run Kylo unit. Rey with Black One ability on flip is a meme. Hey, maybe that's how you run her. Maybe that's how you do it. You may discard your hand if you do draw 3 cards. So you flip her to discard your hand. Maybe you have no cards in your hand, but you draw 2 cards, and then you discard those 2 and draw 3. So you draw. I don't know. It's stupid. I don't even want to. I don't even want to like consider. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like something. Like if you're running red hero in sort of this like grindy thing, like why wouldn't you just run like Mace Windu or Han 2? I don't. She doesn't do anything on her flip. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense why they made this. And you know what? While we're at it, I'm gonna throw Grand Inquisitor on this too. Why did they make him? I guess if you make 18 liters a set, or how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 liters. If you make 18 liters, you're gonna have some duds. Not all of them can be good. But this list is definitely skewing to bad leaders, right? In my opinion. And I think generally most sets are going to look like this, where a lot of the leaders are just kind of bad in the meta. And they're really just looking at sealed and limited formats. We're going to talk about formats in a bit, actually. I'm really interested in it. But I think it's only natural that 3 to 5 leaders actually come into the meta and do something. Even less maybe per set. But I think it's natural for a TCG like this. Barris. I think Barris. I think right now, if you were to ask me, I think she's fine. But I think she has a potential of moving up into the we shall see territory, because I think her ability is interesting enough that somebody will find a good combo to abuse with her. But I think she is reliant on finding some sort of like efficient combo for her. I don't think it's good enough to just use the force to reduce an event. Maybe she's good in a control scheme. I don't know. I think I want to put her in fine because I think Kylo and Obi-Wan have a better chance of breaking into the meta than Barris does. Gotta crack her. Someone will, and she will be decent good. Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself. Somebody will crack her, and somebody will run her, and somebody will top 8 some event with her. But I don't think she's necessarily, as good as these other guys. So I think this fine category is a little bit, maybe I should order them on like how good I think they are relative to the others. I think she's probably the best in the fine. And I think maybe Snoke is better than Kanan. And I think Kanan's the third best here. And honestly, the orders below don't fucking matter, to be honest. So don't even worry about it. Cal. I think his ability is really interesting. I think it's going to attract a lot of people because of how broken Jango became. But people are going to quickly realize that he is not anything like Jango. I think if you're going to run a yellow hero and you're going to be really aggressive, like, I think Kaz is just strictly better. I think Snoke could be the sleeper of this set. Cal makes me sad inside. Yeah, Snoke could be a sleeper, you're right. And Cal makes me sad as well. I've seen some really bonkers stuff with him. I've lost to him pretty badly. But I think if that person was just running like Sabine, for instance, or I don't know, it would have to be like a force deck, like a force aggro deck. We don't really have any other force aggro decks. Maybe he's like the best in the not it category. Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon, 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 Qui-Gon. A lot of people are sad about Qui-Gon because he was their favorite character. Our boy Swifty in the chat, my buddy Koi. Qui-Gon's his favorite character, and he was sad because he thinks Qui-Gon is not as good as he should have been. I don't know if he belongs in the We Shall See. I think he's probably fine, but he's probably like third in the fine. I think again, similar to Barris, similar to Snoke, similar to most of these leaders in the fine category, I think somebody will make some list with him that does really well and gets the right matchups and does well in a tournament. Do I think I'm going to be worried about Qui-Gon in day 2 of Worlds? Probably not. I'm probably like, Han 1 is probably much better than Qui-Gon, right? They kind of have a similar strategy to them, right? Kells, Qui-Gon is good in my opinion, but gets much better with more cards coming out. I think he's good. I think he's fine, right? This is definitely, these leaders are good. But like, he's not going to replace Han 1 in yellow green. Yeah, he probably needs some time to cook. He needs Han 1 to rotate out. I think Han 1, nobody's talking about Han 1 right now. I think Han 1 green just got better. And we're going to talk about that with like when we talk about the units. We're going to get into that in a second. But I just don't think this is better than like Han 1. So I think that's what we compare him to. That's what you have to compare him to when you're talking about the meta, right? Revan, it's like, okay, I'm actually bitter about Revan. So I'm putting him in. Why did they make this? Because I want him to be better. He's probably better than this. He's probably fine or like not it, but I'm pissed. I was excited about him, but he just feels bad. Doesn't feel good. Easy to stop his game plan, I think. And then Anakin is another fine leader. I think, again, similar to Barris, I think somebody's going to crack something that's nasty, but they massacred my Anakin showcase. Yeah, I saw one of the comments. It was on like Facebook or I don't know, Discord or something. On some thread, somebody commented that he looks like Tower Number 9. I saw somebody. I like the Anakin showcase, to be honest. I think he looks pretty good. I think it is funny. I can see the resemblance to Tower Number 9. Pouting Anakin, no anger, no crying. He's conflicted. I don't know. I think it looks kind of like anime-esque. I think it has an interesting style. But I think the Terra comparison, yeah. For some reason, I kind of hesitated saying that because you were shitting on the showcase. So I was like, I don't know if that's a good thing. But it's funny. I think it's funny. It was a funny comment. So shout out to Tower Number 9 for looking like Anakin. Let's see. That's it. I think that's my list. You can share this with people and say this guy has the best opinion on the leaders of set 5, right? I probably have the most lukewarm opinions on the leaders of set 5, to be honest. But that's it. That's my leader tier list. I like the anime style. Wish his expressions were more vivid. That's all. Yeah, it's so hard for showcases to look really, really good because I feel like everybody hypes it up in their head, like how rare and valuable showcases are. And then when the art looks like, you know, Luke Skywalker from set 4, um, fucking Lork Skywalker looking ass, um, it's not something you're going to want to pull, right? Maybe for the meme. Maybe for the meme because he looks, awesome. But some showcases are significantly better than others. That's all. And it's unfortunate that they can't all be bangers. So that was a long talk about the leaders. That's where I am with set 5 leaders. Those are my opinions. Can't wait to see your comments about my tier list. But let's move on to the units. I think the units are going to be much more impactful than the leaders, and I think that's always how it's going to be as new sets come out. Starting off strong with the blue villains here. The first unit I want to talk about is one of my favorite units and pairs really, really well with, honestly, any Force villain blue deck. But specifically Talzin, because you're adding extra minuses on units. Playing this for 4, as a 4/4, using the Force to -3/-3 something, a lot of times you're going to kill something. Or if you don't, then you just Talzin it after and kill something, right? I think Talzin's Assassin is really, really good in the same vein that Ambush is really, really good, okay? The reason Ambush and Talzin's Assassin are really, really good is because of the tempo that they give you, right? You're playing a unit, something that's going to do something on the board, and you're getting rid of another unit, or you're getting rid of some threat, right? Maybe something's like a 6/6, and you -3/-3 it, becomes a 3/3, one of your other units can come in and kill it, right? Something like that. You're generally going to remove something from the board. You're adding something to the board and removing something from the board. It's the reason Ambush is good. It's the reason this card's good. That's a very powerful thing to have. And it's one of the reasons that Talzin is so strong, actually. So expect to see this card. This is going to be somewhere in the meta, right? Somebody that is also impactful is something like Supremacy Tie. I think this card is really good just because of how many decks are going to want to play this, especially because blue villain can struggle against space. Especially we talked about blue-green struggling against space. Supremacy Tie helps a lot, I think. A 3/3 Sentinel is just solid. 3/3 Sentinel in space, love it, right? That's going to be another good card just because of how many decks are going to be able to utilize it. But one of the best cards in the set, for some reason he's itty bitty. Oh my god. Darth Vader. You've probably heard so many people talk about this already, but I'm going to talk about him again. I think this is one of the best units in the set. I think you need Ambush with him, though. I think he's going to be really good in blue ECL. I think this is going to be one of the reasons that Kira might just switch to ECL or Kylo ECL, something with ECL, because of how consistently you're going to be able to just 2-for-1 the board with Vader, right? You're almost always going to kill 2 things with him, with 1 ambush. Timely Intervention is another one that works really well with him. I think he pairs perfect with green. Xi'an Flurry is another card we will perhaps touch on when we get to yellow. That's another thing that gives Force units ambush. And this is going to be so good with ambush. That's all. And so I've talked about this with some friends too, and a lot of people have pointed out that they are less hype on Vader because of how bad he is without ambush. If you did did the stream freeze? Did I freeze? No, it looks good on my end. Anyway, Where was I? Fuck. Oh yeah, if you don't ambush this guy and you just play him, not that much of an impact. You're just giving a couple things shields. Might not be that great if you don't ambush him. So he's really good, but I think he needs ambush. And J-Freak, yes, Towson's Assassin is also great with ECL and Timely. That's why I love Towson Green. Because, not necessarily with ECL, but Timely for sure. Like, you could Timely her, or Xian Flurry, because she's a force unit. Towson's Assassin is just great. But yeah, Towson's Assassin, Supremacy, Darth Vader, I think they're going to have a major impact. And Karis, not by herself, I think she's a great unit, especially if you're using the Force. But this 2-4 turn 1 play, especially these Force units, like things that are going to stick around to then give you the Force next turn, like this is a tough new standard, I feel like. The high health turn 1 plays. Same with Yaddle here. I think not necessarily these cards by themselves, but this stat line is going to be really prevalent. And honestly, Yaddle will be prevalent in any deck running Jedis. Like, so much restore. If you've played against these blue hero, like Jedi decks, oh my gosh, you slap down Yaddle, then you slap down Yoda, then you slap down like Chirrut, oh my god, you're restoring and you're blocking the ground. Yaddle's gonna be prevalent. Let's see, some other highlights. Tragedy of Plagueis might be really interesting in the like hard control scheme. I'm curious if something like Bosk Blue or something like that hard control will want some extra copies of Power of the Dark Side. Because I don't think they mind paying 5 for this. And I don't think decks out of Aspect mind paying 5 for Power of the Dark Side. I think that's how good Power of the Dark Side is, and I think that's how good this type of ability is. And you get the whole can't be defeated by having no remaining HP. So Bosk might actually really like this. On flip, play this, kill something, protect your Bosk so you trigger your bounties. I don't know. There could be something there. I might be cooking. I need Swifty in the chat so he can comment, because he's our resident Bosk Blue player. But that might be interesting. Let's see, Ezra. I think Ezra, it's funny. I hardly ever see, his on attack go off very much. But I think Ezra is going to be good and prevalent because he's a Force Jedi Rebel and he's a 3/5. And he's a Spectre. But the fact that he has all those traits and he's just a 3/5 on 3 is really good. So I think he's going to be prevalent. I think decks want to run him that aren't even worried about his on attack. Just if this was blank, I think he would still be ran. So he'll be interesting. Iterant Warrior, you're right. A shielded 4/4 for 4. You can use the Force and heal 3 damage. That's gonna be really good. Just a 4 for 4/4 shielded is solid, and you could possibly heal. Let's see what else here. Not sure if Doom is gonna do anything. I love the character. I love this card, and I think it has some interesting applications. And you have to play this in double blue, and I think it's interesting. I think it's slow. I think it's slow though, especially if you're playing a game of like, I'm gonna go wide and play a bunch of units. I think Doom might be too slow for that strategy. Okay, couple bangers right here. Secret Sage. I think this is going to be one of the main cards we see in set 5. Like, it's literally just a blue crafty smuggler that has the Force trait. The reason that's so good is because you can almost guarantee that Secretive Sage is going to stick around and give you the Force. I think this goes in every blue Force deck. Full stop. Every single blue Force deck is going to want to run this. I think it's going to be very prevalent. It's just good. 2/2 shield, turn 1. You're going to get the Force most likely. Unless you're playing against Cad Bane and they Cloud Rider turn 1 or something. Which I have done many a times. I think it's going to be very prevalent. Axe Wolves, shielded, gets +1/+1 for each upgrade on him. I think this will be very good in something like... I'm blanking. What's the Mandalorian guy's name? What the hell is the Mandalorian guy's name? Gar Saxon. This will be crazy in Gar Saxon. Yes, Gar. Thank you. Axe Wolves, he's a 4/3 shielded on turn 2. Pretty good. I think Ogdo Bogdo is cool. I think Hantu might run him, but he might be a trap. I don't know if he's that good to run. I've seen a lot of people playing Watto. I don't know how prevalent he'll be, but he's got an interesting ability. Churret, however, I am certain that Churret is going to be good. Yeah, Sage is also good with Saxon. Yeah, very true. Very true. Churret is going to go in every single blue Force deck. I don't want to say every single, but he's a beast. He's a wall. If you can maintain the Force and play him for 4 as a 3/5, we had that vanilla blue 4 cost 3/5 running around with Sentinel. This guy, Churret, is just straight better. He just has upside. And I think he's going to be very good. He's so tough to get through, and he's so annoying to deal with him. And yeah, you slap Forces with me on him. He's an 8/8. Well, let's see. He gets 2 experience. He'd be a 5/7, right? With a shield. Still a beast. And then I think probably one of the main cards people are trying to build around right now. Oh, Axe Wolves. Sorry. Yeah, that's nuts. Oh my god, I didn't even think of that. Because he gets +1/+1 for each upgrade. So you give him 2 upgrades. That's +4/+4. Yeah, that's disgusting. Okay, Axe Wolves. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Give into your anger, counters Churret. Is that because it makes him attack into a unit? Or what does that do again? Deal 1 damage to an enemy unit. Its controller's next action in this phase must be an attack action with that unit. If able, it must attack a unit if able. Yeah, I guess you make him attack into your unit to kill it instead of... Yeah, then he doesn't get the ability. That makes sense. Love that. Everybody's going to be running Give into your anger to counter Churret. New sideboard tech. Anakin's going to be amazing. Let's just straight up talk about this. Anakin's going to be incredible. We talked about this with like Kylo and even Anakin Leader. They easily enable him, and he's a -6/-6, 1 turn earlier than Luke, and he does not require a unit to die. I've been playing Anakin in all of my blue decks. Even Cad Blue. I've been loving him in Cad Blue because of Bamboozle. Bamboozle's an easy hero card to get into your discard. And if you have used Bamboozle a turn before you play this or something, like, man, it's powerful. -6/-6 is no freaking joke. And it's 2 instances of -3, so you can kill 2 units or weaken 2 units. I think Anakin's going to be really good. I think Anakin's amazing with ECL and Timely. I think he's good in the blue Kylo ECL type stuff. Yeah, new Kylo with Rey unit. Yup. Kylo ECL is one of my favorite decks. I don't know how good it's going to be to break into the meta, but he works with Anakin really well. Shatterpoint's gonna be good in Force decks. You use the Force, it becomes a Vanquish for 4. I think that's really good. I think it's gonna be relevant. Let's see. Who else makes the cut? Honestly, I don't think there's a single green villainy card that I'm thinking will be really relevant. Besides maybe like Eighth Brother or Craving Power. I think Craving Power is only relevant in Kylo. I don't think you really play this in any deck that wants to run Barrage. But Eighth Brother's interesting. And he's interesting because he comes down on 6, which is an important resource for green villainy decks. He comes down on 6 to set up a powerful 7 resource turn. I think if you're running some sort of like green villainy force deck, you're going to be running Vaders, you're going to be running Mauls, right? So he comes down with Vader stats, he ambushes, he sets up a 7 power Vader or a 9 power Maul ambush. I think that's his best spot, and I think he's really interesting in that sense. I really want to try him in my I've been trying to make him work in Talzin Green. So I think he's interesting for sure. Eye of Sion, okay. Eye of Sion, I think is interesting as well. You think it's good as a finisher in Vader deck. Okay, like Vader 4. 4/7 ambush on 6. It has hidden, ambush, overwhelm, restore 1. This could be interesting. It could help with the space weakness that green villainy has. And I don't know. It could help. It could help. I haven't really seen it played. I haven't really played with it, but we'll see. Those are kind of the only green things I could. I wanted this to work so bad because I love in Magic the Gathering, I love Scavenging Ooze. Just a small unit, except Scavenging Ooze costs 2 and it's a 2/2, which is just decent. And then it gets buffed a little easier than this gets buffed. So it's not quite as good, but it definitely has the same vibe as Scavenging Ooze. And if you don't know what that is, look that up. It's I used to play a mono green modern deck that was just a mono green stompy, and Scavenging Ooze was sick in it. I don't know. It reminded me of that, and I wanted to make it work, but I don't think this is gonna do anything. I don't know. It's interesting. It's very interesting to see an ability like this, and who knows? It might be good in Snoke. I tried to make it work in Snoke, so maybe there's something there. Gunji, again, with the 2/4s running around, I think a 2/5 is just better. So Gunji is going to be relevant. He's going to be ran in almost all the green hero decks. It doesn't even matter that he's a Force and Jedi. I think he's just got good stats. It's kind of terrifying. You play Gunji turn 1, you slap a General's Blade on him turn 2, and he is a beast. It's terrifying. Jedi Consular is going to be good. Use the Force. Something costs 2 less. I think he's really awkward on turn 1. Unless you're playing a VAR. But I think there's something there. I don't know if he's going to be that crazy. He's not going to be running that many decks, maybe. But Obi-Wan Kenobi for sure will. 3/5 Sentinel for 3. That's just great. Eth Koth is going to be good. Super laser tech vibes, but you need the Force. Here we go. Another banger. This guy is going to be good in all of the green hero decks. I'm talking Han 1. I'm talking Han 2. I'm talking Rey Data Vault. I'm talking Luke green. I'm talking all these green hero decks that run U-Wing reinforcements, that run Home 1. This is just an extra Home 1, dude. Like, you're going to want to run both of these. He's so good. He's so good. And he's uncommon. So he's going to be everywhere in Limited. He's going to be everywhere in Limited. I don't know what they were thinking. He's going to be busted in Limited, I think. So much value for this card. So much value. He's going to be great. He's going to be all over the place. Another guy, my boy, that's going to be all over the place is our boy Yoda. Comes in, you can use the Force to heal 5 damage from your base, and if you use the Force, you deal damage to a unit equal to twice the number of units you control. That's crazy. Very good. Very strong unit. He's going to go very good in these green grindy decks. Yeah, he's going to be all over the place too. Leia's interesting. I don't know if she's going to be all over the place, but I think she has a very interesting ability, and it's going to be useful to give +2/+2 to everything. Yoda's lightsaber, he looks so smug in that art. I know. I wish there was like an action picture of him. All these Jedi are just sitting in their chairs. Eeth Koth, Yoda. I wish there was like an action shot for him. Yoda's lightsaber is interesting. I saw this in Sabine. And I think it's very good in Sabine. It could just be blank, just +3 power. And I think it's good in Sabine. So look out for like the sabers, these cheap lightsabers for Sabine. I think Oppo Rancis is good. If you somehow were building a double green deck, he's very interesting. But double green just might not be that good. Let's see. Who else is crazy? That's about it for green, I feel like. Oh my god, this is my boy. Look at this guy. I love him. I don't think he's going to be crazy, but he's got a really cool ability. Draw a card for each unit with 7 or more remaining HP. Maybe something with Palpatine, maybe something with Jabba. I don't think he's going to break into the meta, but Restore 4 as a 4/12 in space for 8. I think he's interesting, and he looks awesome. I love this guy. But that's just how I just feel good about him. I don't think he's going to be crazy, but he's cool. Look at him. Look at that face, dude. I don't know. Makes me happy. I want a prestige of the Purrgil King. Okay, now we're getting into red. We're getting into some spicy territory. I think Acolyte of the Beyond is going to be everywhere in your red villain Force decks. You have to run this guy. He's not Force, but on attack and when defeated, he gets the Force. Now, that's so important because when defeated, he still gives you the Force token, so you can't even stop this guy. Unless you obviously waylay him or capture him or something, right? But yeah, he's dope. For sure, for Force decks. Grand Inquisitor, I think, is sick. And he's going to go in a lot of red villainy decks. I think the fact that he's a 3/4 is, you know, not that bad because he has hidden. And being a 3 cost and hitting stuff for 4 is really, really, really strong, I feel like. I like him. I like Grand Inquisitor. Holy shit, I didn't realize he was a legendary, though. That's... Why is he a legendary? That's interesting. You know, actually, before I forget, the best part about Grand Inquisitor is that they used the correct Grand Inquisitor. They used the Rebels Grand Inquisitor. Finally, they used the Rebels Grand Inquisitor. Finally, thank you. This is way cooler. Look at his head. His head is the proper shape. None of this round head, normal head looking ass shit. His head is the right shape. That's important to me. Grand Inquisitor's head needs to be the right freaking shape. And they did it finally, and I'm so glad they did. Not on a leader, but on a really good unit. So, I'm cool with it. Strike Ship 0/3 with Raid 3 and Overwhelm. The most important thing about this thing is that it has Underworld. So I think people will want to use this in CAD. It's cool. It's a good ship, I think. It gets blown out by Blue Leader or something that ambushes in space. But like, Raid 3 as a 2 cost and a 3 body, 3 health. having the underworld trait is important. I think it'll be solid. Savage, I want to be good so freaking bad. I want him to be good, but I don't think he's going to really be played anywhere. Adigalia, again, the 2/4 body is important. Kiadi is really, really good, I think. The ability to play him, use the force, and draw 2 cards. You're telling me you play a 4/4 for 4 and you draw 2? That's crazy. That's so good. He's so good. Especially, let me tell you, Han 2 Force, you're going to play this on turn 2 and draw 2 cards. Doesn't even matter that he's 2 damage on him. He's still got 4 attack. Very nice. Very good. This is going to be everywhere. Anyone that can run him, I think, will run him. In a Force deck, of course. So if Force is good, he's going to be really, really good. Catch my drift. Mace Windu is going to be very, very good. I think a 6/6 with Overwhelm. But when played, you can use the Force to deal 4 damage. It's kind of like a Wrecker Light. I think anybody running red Force is going to run him as their top end. Anakin is making a comeback this set mostly because of him and Mace as new tools. Oh yeah, Anakin is going to be great. Anakin is going to be so good. Especially because he trades up so well. Like, he's gonna be good. He's gonna be powerful. Paz Vizsla is interesting, but I don't think he's gonna be everywhere. I've seen some interesting things with Han 2, Han 2 Red, where you can damage him and he's already got 5 power and shit. I think that's really interesting. Jedi in hiding is going to be good. More discard, right? 3/3 Force with hidden, which is important because you can play him, make him hidden, and then almost guarantee that you get the Force next turn. Marin is really, really good. 3-cost Force unit to 5. 5 health is hard to get rid of. She's only got 2 power, but her on attack allows her to trade up really well. Or kill multiple things really well. You think the new Rey unit is good? I think it's a trap. I think it's a gimmick. I think it's so hard to make that situation work. I feel like getting the damage and stuff for free is really enticing. It's a really enticing reward, if you will. But I know Yoda can like put her back on the top of your deck, but then you have to guarantee that you draw her with like some ability, right? I don't know. It doesn't seem consistent enough for me. Yeah, Quinlan in Anakin, very, very good. Quinlan with Hotshot Blaster, very, very good. Quinlan with Surprise Strike, very, very good. I think yellow-red suits this guy very, very well. I think Quinlan's going to be good. I think Quinlan's going to be in those types of decks. Unfortunately, I don't see Asajj having the same impact. Invasion Control Ship. I never even saw this. Friendly droid units gain raid 2. That's interesting. But I'm not highlighting it. I just didn't realize that was a card. I played against a Kanan that was running Ravenous Rathtar. And it fucked me up, dude. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't do anything against it, but I don't think it's particularly good. Bendu's interesting. He's a 10/10 8 cost. I think he's probably really useful in Han 2. Playing him for 7 as a 10/10, you clear the board basically. Deal 3 damage to each other unit. Clears Vader for sure. Vader 4. But at that point, Vader's probably deployed, so I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter that much. I think he'll make some sort of impact. Maybe not quite as much as Krayt Dragon has, but he'll be that kind of role. You might run both of them. Moving on to yellow. Aurra Sing, one of my favorite units because I'm a Cad Bane guy. I think Aura Singh is so good in Cad Bane. She's a 1/4 hidden with Raid 2. So she's hidden for 3. She's got 4 toughness. She's got 4 health. That's so good. Um, and having hidden is actually surprisingly good. You play her, and so many times my opponent has played like an ambush unit that they wanted to kill her with, and it's like, she's got hidden. Can't you see? Um, so good. She's easily going to be the premier turn 1 play in Cad Bane. One of the premier turn 1 plays. Very good. Similar vein, Cad Bane likes Nile Marauder as well. I think a 1/5 with Raid 3 is nothing to scoff at, especially paired with my boy Marchion Ro right here. This guy doubles Raid. I think both of these guys together in like a Cad Red, Cad Tarkentown is actually really interesting. I'm not 100% sold on Marchion Ro, but he has a very enticing way to end the game. If you have the board loaded up with some Raid guys, you play him on your Cad flip, and you're pretty much going to win the game. So that's actually really cool. Yes, J Freak. She will trade. Talking about not Shin. Sorry, Aura Singh. She will trade into every 2/4 and even with the ping into the 2/5. Well, she'll need to ping the 2/4 to trade it, right? Because she has Raid 2, she's hitting for 3. But she still clears the turn 1 plays really well. Put a blaster on her, she's attacking for 5 with 4 health. Shin Hati, I mentioned her when I was trying to say Aura Singh. I think Shin Hati would be really good in some sort of yellow villainy deck that may or may not care about the force, but being a 4/2 hidden with a shield is strong. But with a bunch of minuses running around, that might not matter too much. I think she'll be a strong unit, though. Rounding out the villain stuff, I think Liberated by Darkness will be good, especially in, like... Yes, Aura Singh is Underworld. But Liberated by Darkness, I think, is really good in some sort of Palp Yellow build. If it's a Force Palp, I have a buddy working on it right now. My boy Andrew Naku in the chat. He's liking Liberated by Darkness. So this is an interesting card. Use the Force, and it's just a cheaper Change of Heart. I think BD1's interesting. You just buff something and give it Saboteur. This will go good in like some aggro hero decks. I think N1 Starfighter also goes in like all the aggro hero decks that are running yellow. Youngling Padawan is like a premier turn 1 play in a yellow hero force deck because he immediately gives you the force. Vernestra's good in a force deck. She readies if you use the force. A lot of good yellow hero stuff. I'm thinking Quinlan, right? Depa Balaba. This is Kanan's master. I didn't realize at first. She's really good. 6 as a 5/7 ambush with Saboteur. In Quinlan, she's dealing 6 damage probably. I think Qui-Gon Jinn will be good. I don't know if he's going to be like crazy good like the other cards we highlighted, but he's definitely worth mentioning. He can 2-for-1 things if he dies. So that's pretty strong. But keep in mind that that other unit that you get rid of, it just goes on the top of the deck, potentially. But still, that's better than sending it to the hand, right? Or just as good. No, it's just strictly better than sending it to the hand. So I think he's strong. I don't think he replaces Han Solo unit, though. Like, I don't think it's that simple. I think if you're running Quinlan and you're getting the 7 damage from Han Solo unit anyway, I don't know if he's better than Han Solo. I think Han Solo's still really strong. Zuckuss, I love Zuckuss. He's my boy. But I don't see this being played anywhere. Love to see the Tusken Love. I hope there's a Tusken tribal deck someday. Legacy Run is interesting. I think it's solid in Palpatine, and I think it's crazy in Thrawn 4. How good will those decks be? I'm not sure. How consistent will you be able to pull off the combo of defeating this thing and dealing freaking 12 damage in Thrawn 4? I don't know, because you could just deal with it. Who knows? Let's see. Messages. Sorry, chat. I don't usually do this. Nothing. I didn't get anything. Zuckuss is a Thrawn yellow card. Yes, that's true, but how good is Thrawn double yellow going to be, right? I want Zuckuss to be good. He looks dope in this art, too. The Findsman. Did not realize he was Force sensitive, though. That's a new one to me. Force Bounty Hunter. That's pretty dope. Sheehan Flurry. Timely for yellow. Force. Play a Force unit from your hand, but it doesn't have Smuggle. Gains Ambush. The next time it'd be dealt damage this phase, prevent 2 of that damage. So a thing to note with Vader is if you use this on Vader, shield Vader, kill something, right? And you keep your shield, or sorry, you expend your shield to soak up the damage. That phase, he still prevents 2 damage the next time he takes damage. So it's not right off the ambush with Vader. Trust Your Instincts is going to be good. It's just shoot first for Force units, but it gets +2. You also have to use the Force, though, so it's a little more expensive than shoot first. Precarious Predicament. I want to be good so bad, and I was so excited about this card. Because it's a trick, too, so it's good in, like, CAD with Jabba. But I feel like playing It's Worse from the resource row, it doesn't replace itself like Smuggle cards do, so kind of just lose a resource. I don't know. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll get to It's Worse, but It's Worse is a 7-cost neutral card that just defeats a unit. So when it says you may play a card named It's Worse from your hand or resource for free, but paying 2 cards, 2 resources to defeat something, I don't know. It's too, you know, I had somebody bluff against me. They played Precarious Predicament, and they didn't have It's Worse. So I just called their bluff, and it did nothing. So they paid 2 resources and discarded a card to do nothing. that was kind of cool. I feel like that'll happen a lot when you have this, and you need to use it. But speaking of tricks that might be good in CAD and can be pulled by Jabba, tip the scale. Force Trick. Look at an opponent's hand and discard a non-unit card from it for 2. I think that's good. I think CAD would like this to fight against control. Maybe it might be a sideboard, but I think this gives CAD a little more legs to fight against control. Let's see. Darth Malak, I was so excited about. I thought he worked like Fire Spray at first, and I feel like a lot of people might have thought this. But you have to have your leader out. It's not just, oh, you control a Sith leader. I think if you control the Sith leader and you play this guy and he readies, I think he'd be really, really good. And I don't think he'd be broken. I think they should have just made it like Fire Spray. What were they doing? I don't know. This guy, my boy Darth Tyrannus, is going to be everywhere. All the Force villain decks. I think that's so good. 4-power shielded unit with ambush. If you have the Force, of course. But very nice. I wanted the Sun to be good, but I don't think he's that good. Everybody keeps telling me he's trash, but I want him to work somewhere. Um, let's see. We're kind of running through this quicker now. Dope art right here. Can't see it right there. I haven't seen anybody playing around with Luke Skywalker, but I think he's pretty good. When you play a unique unit, you use the Force, and you give him an experience token and a shield. And you can do that just every turn. I think he's worth trying. I was playing him in Han 2, and he was becoming a big threat. I don't know. I haven't seen anybody else really play him. Grogu also did not realize this little guy was legendary. But also a fantastic card in Han 2. Immediately deal damage to him, play him turn 1, and you could deal 2 damage to their turn 1 play. I think he's going to be all over the place in the meta. Let's see. Gungans, I want my Gungan synergy, my Gungan tribal deck to come to fruition. I think the daughter is going to be pretty good too. When your when your base is dealt damage, use the Force, and you can heal 2. I think this is a really good way to consistently trigger Yoda unit as well, if you're that late in the game. But I think she's probably good in Avar to flip your Avar earlier. But I think in general, in a Force hero deck, you might just want to play her for that extra healing, right? Extra ways to use the Force, right? Because there's not that many really good ways, really good powerful ways to use the Force. There might be a few here and there. So you might need a way to consistently use the Force, right? To consistently bank on that resource. And by resource, I mean the Force, right? The Force as a resource. And there's its worse. Defeat a non-leader unit. I was curious how this would be on its own in CAD with Jabba. But at that point, you just play like CAD Blue. So this is just useless. Constructed Lightsaber. Amazing. This card is amazing. I was loving it in freaking Talzin. You give your villain units raid 2. I'm loving it in Kylo. You could discard this. You could load Kylo up with raid 2. And if you're playing Kylo and you play a Rey, now you have Restore. Or you play an Anakin, now you have Sentinel, right? So I think this is a great card. This is a great card. I think it'll be in a lot of Force decks. Let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. The father's whatever. I don't think he's that anything great. I highlighted all the cards I wanted to highlight. Now let's go back to the leaders just to kind of... That's all the cards. I think those are the cards that have the potential to break into the meta. Okay? And I think when talking about the meta, it's super, super important to understand, like, that whole time I was talking about CAD. I was talking about Han 2. We were talking about Anakin, right? Leaders that already exist. Leaders that are already good and proven. Those leaders will stay good, and they will stop a lot of these. They will gatekeep a lot of the new leaders. So whenever you're analyzing new leaders in a set, I think it's really, really, really important to understand which decks, which archetypes are gatekeeping new stuff from coming into the meta, right? Can you stop Sabine? Like I was saying, can you stop Vader 4? Can you deal with Cad Bane clearing the board constantly? Can you deal with Quinlan just discarding your hand, clearing the board at the same time, right? Like, is Quinlan going to be the best Force deck that doesn't even care about using the Force? Does Quinlan stay Tarkin Town? You know what I mean? Like, things like that are super important to consider when talking about how good these set 5 leaders actually are. And that's something that I've been really trying to be cognizant of because I've been super excited about decks, and then I run into, specifically test in person against friends, like, okay, let's see how it does against Vader 4. Let's see how it does against Sabine. And I get blown out of the water, and I'm like, okay, well, take that deck, toss it in the trash. Like, can it deal with that stuff? So that's a lot of the we'll see in my tier list is, can they get past the cards that are gatekeeping them? Or can they get past the cards that are just better than them in their respective colors? Like Kylo versus Kira, you know what I mean? Kira might just be better. Might as well play Kira. Qui-Gon versus Han 1 type of thing, right? Why not just play Han 1 if you're going to run a yellow hero leader? Things like that are very important to consider. We're kind of hitting this at a good time here. I hope you guys are liking this stream style so far. This is something I kind of want to do once a week to just kind of get out all of my thoughts about maybe the meta or tournaments or tier list type stuff. Just kind of have a consistent show that I'm not having to make a whole video about something. I'm just getting live with you guys, just talking about these things. I kind of like this style of show. So I'm trying it out. But definitely let me know in the comments. Definitely let me know in the chat. And I'll keep doing it. Maybe it's my Saturday thing, right? The last thing I wanted to touch on before I get going here. There is a new format that was announced. I'm sure you guys probably saw it. I don't know how many of you were actually really interested in it. New format. It is called... It's not called 3 Decks 1 Duel. It's called Trilogy? Trilogy format, yes. So, we'll talk about the Trilogy format really quick, but there's something in general formats that I want to talk about as well. The Trilogy format is interesting because you take 3 decks to a match, and first of all, it's a legacy format, not so that's what Magic calls it, but it's an eternal format. So everything is legal. It's not the typical premier rotation. You can play anything. But you take 3 decks to your match, and each of you bans one of the decks. So immediately, boom, that deck's banned. Right? Then you guys play with the other 2 decks. You have to win a game with each of your decks. So you pick a deck, play against your opponent with the other deck that they reveal. Right? You reveal at the same time, play against each other. If you win, you switch decks and play with your other deck. If you lose, you can decide, I'm going to stay with this deck or I'm going to switch decks. Right? Depending on what might be better for you. The other interesting aspect of this is that you can have a maximum of 3 copies of any given card across all 3 decks. So you have to build different archetypes. You can't just build all 3 Boba Green lists. And it's like, okay, I ban one of your Boba Greens and I play the other 2, right? I imagine Boba Green and like Django are going to be 2 of the top banned decks. So it might be an interesting strategy to just run one of those decks and just know it's always going to get banned and focus on the other 2 decks. I don't know. But it's a very interesting format. And I think it's really cool that they're adding stuff like this. I think the only reason you add formats like this is because you're going to give it support, right? And that's really what I wanted to talk about is like competitive support for other formats, right? You know, look at things like Magic the Gathering. They have all these different formats. I know they've been around for decades, but their Pro Tour consists of limited. They have standard. They have modern. They have all these different formats that they support competitively. I'm really interested to see what the future holds for future competitive formats in Star Wars Unlimited, right? Like, we could have this incorporated in like the Worlds event, the Galactic Championship, right? Or we could have Limited be a part of your rounds, some of your rounds qualifying for the Galactic Championship, right? Or maybe there's a big competitive what the fuck's this called again? Trilogy. Maybe there's a big competitive trilogy tournament that if you win, you qualify for the Galactic Championship. Shit like that, right? Just other formats to be competitive in alongside Premier. Because, like, my biggest thing about these types of formats, like, I haven't played a single game of Twin Suns. I'm sure Twin Suns is great. I'm sure it's a blast. But I have yet to see, like, a competitive Twin Suns tournament. Why? Like, to me, I'm a competitive fucking gamer. I'm going to compete, right? So Twin Suns might be fun and all, but like, why don't I just grind Premier if that's what's going to be like the competitive format? So I think the fact that they're introducing new stuff like this, especially with the rotation on the horizon, I know people are worried about rotation. Maybe people are excited about rotation. I'm personally excited for the Eternal format. And I hope that alongside Premier, they will have competitive Eternal, right? Similar to Magic with Modern. I played, like, that's really what I played the most of when I played Magic was Modern. Because I liked not having to keep up with Standard. Keeping up with Standard is hard for most people. Keeping up with Premier will be hard for most people, right? So it'll be interesting to see how they support these things, right? It's one thing to throw out a trilogy format or throw out Twin Suns and then just, there's the rules. You guys can play with it. Like, we need some tournaments for it, right? We need some support on FFG's end. Oh gosh. J.J. Abrams likes the trilogy format. He used his ban on episode 8 to pretend it doesn't exist. That's why they made the trilogy format. Dude, the trilogy format was already being used. Oh my gosh, it's been with us all along. That's fucking funny. Oh shit, dude. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about the trilogy format? What do you guys think about, like, new formats in general? Like, do you care if they're not going to be supported competitively? Does it matter to you? Are you a casual gamer when it comes to that kind of thing? Because I know, for me, obviously, like, if there's no competitive for it, it basically doesn't exist. It does seem like an interesting deck building fun thing to do. Like, you have to be good with multiple decks. You can't just be a one-trick pony like I like to be. I like to one-trick decks, but this would force me to branch out. I like new formats. Trilogy sounds boring, though. Hey, tell it as it is. I appreciate that. Um, I think the boring thing about Trilogy, I think you're right in that it's basically just same gameplay. Nothing really changes with gameplay, but like the setup is a little different, right? I think it's interesting because it's eternal. It's an eternal format. So it seems like they're gearing up for rotation. But I don't know. They have to make some sort of competitive event for this, right? I'm sure there will be something like in, Seattle, the Boston Invitational in Atlanta, right? I'm sure some tournament like that will be like, okay, we're going to have a trilogy tournament, right? Something like that. But I think FFG should possibly look into supporting stuff like this. But maybe people like Kells who think trilogy sounds boring might not like having tournaments like that. Maybe they just want the premiere. So I don't know. We'll see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you're watching this after the stream, which hopefully Some of you guys will. I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, the person watching this after it went live. I appreciate it. I know you missed the live stream, but that's fine. You're watching it now. That's all that matters, right? You're getting all this glorious information from me after it went live. It's still relevant. It's still relevant a day or two later, right? A week later even, this is relevant. So, thanks. Yeah. New formats. Very interesting, especially with rotation coming. So, let me know, especially you guys watching it after it's live. Dang, I just got here. Go another 3 hours just for me. How do you know I'm ending? Do I have a tell? When I go into the full screen, is that a tell for you that shows I'm ending the stream? maybe it's the but anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Maybe that's what maybe that's the tell. Trust me, dude. I could do this all freaking night. I could keep going forever, but I have to go eat food and be an adult. That shit sucks. I just want to play games all day. Can we just all just play games and have fun? Not worry about any bullshit. That's the dream. But anyway, I appreciate you wanting me to stay on. I feel so much love from the chat. And you guys watching this after it's been live, or even you guys now, leave some comments in the comment section. I want to see your comments about this stream in particular. Shall I keep doing this? Or maybe I don't care and I'm just going to keep doing it anyway. But I kind of like this format. And it allows me to not feel like I have to make a little video for all of these different topics. And I could just shoot like a full 2.5 hour stream and just talk about all this shit that I want to talk about. Make my tier list, you know, things like that. I like it. So this might be the Saturday show. And as I said, I'm going to start posting a schedule in the community tab. So keep an eye out for that next week. And you'll know when I'm streaming. I'm going to stream at least a couple times a week now. And there's going to be at least like videos coming out whenever they come out. Okay? So we'll see. But I'm going to be grinding for Worlds. So keep an eye out for those streams. And yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate you. And if you need more content, just start the stream over, right? If you missed it. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Sometimes I time it and I have my hand on the mouse and I'm able to hit end stream as I do it. And that looks really cool usually. But sometimes I forget and I do that. And then I look, you know, awkwardly into the camera or at my computer screen. And I go down and I hit end stream and it takes like an extra couple seconds. Now it's even more weird because I brought it up. And now it's taking even longer for me to end stream. Maybe subconsciously I don't want to end stream and I want to keep streaming and hanging out with you guys. But